You might have heard that Joseph Kabila has been sentenced to death in absentia in a military court in his home country. But how did he get here? You're about to see a story that's part power, part palace intrigue, part war and part survival, and whether you love him or loathe him, Joseph Kabila's life is one of Congo's most defining dramas. The sentence. On September 30, 2025, a high military court in Kinshasa sentenced former President Joseph Kabila to death in absentia, convicting him of war crimes, treason, and crimes against humanity, including accusations of supporting the M23 rebels. He was also ordered to pay billions in damages to the state and victims. Kabila denies the charges and insists the trial is politically motivated. Rise, from son to soldier to president. Born in 1971, Joseph Kabila was the son of Laurent Desire Kabila, a key figure in the overthrow of Mobutu. As a young man, he trained militarily, including time in China and Tanzania, but seemed far from ready for leadership. In 2001, when his father was assassinated, Joseph, then 29, was fastened into the role of head of state. By 2006, he became the first democratically elected president of the Congo in over 40 years. He projected calmness, a stark contrast to his father's fiery temper, earning him the nickname the Sphinx for his silence and mystery. His presidency was a constant balancing act: armed groups in the east, foreign interests in Congo's minerals, corruption, and political opposition. He survived assassination attempts, international pressure, and rebellions. To many Congolese, he became the symbol of a young leader who held the nation together when it could have collapsed. But critics accused him of authoritarianism, corruption, and overstaying his mandate. After his second term expired in 2016, he delayed elections for 2 years, fueling unrest. The enigma. Joseph Kabila was notoriously private and secretive. Rarely giving interviews, rarely seen smiling, often retreating to his farm in Katanga. Unlike most African presidents, he lived modestly in appearance but was accused of building a hidden empire of wealth and influence behind the scenes. His silence became both his strength and his curse, a man impossible to read, mistrusted by many, but respected for his resilience. It was a sudden transfer of power in a country in the grips of civil war. The long reign, peace, conflict, and power. Kabila's early presidency was marked by efforts at peace negotiations with the many rebel groups that had sliced through the Congo. He signed accords, attempted to rebuild institutions, and held elections in 2006 that many considered legitimate. But Congo was never stable. The east of the country remained turbulent, with foreign-backed rebel groups, pockets of violence, and weak infrastructure. Over the years, critics accused him of allowing corruption to flourish, delaying democratic transitions, overstaying his mandate, and of being involved, directly or indirectly, in human rights abuses. The turning point: transition and tensions. After 18 years in power, Kabila eventually stepped aside following widely contested elections in 2018 and handed over to Felix Tshisekedi. Some saw this as progress, others saw it as Kabila maneuvering to retain influence through back channels. Over time, tension grew between Kabila and Tshisekedi. Kabila's political party was accused of supporting or being aligned with the M23 rebel group, which controls parts of eastern Congo and has been accused of serious violations itself. The trial in absentia and the charges. In July 2025, Joseph Kabila went on trial in absentia before the High Military Court, after his legal immunity was stripped by the Senate. He is accused of collaborating with rebels, particularly M23, planning insurrection, complicity in war crimes, rape, murder, torture, and treason. His defense: he rejects the trial as politically motivated, says there is insufficient evidence, and claims the judiciary has been weaponized against him. Shades of complexity: his legacy. Supporters say he brought some level of stability after decades of chaos, managed to negotiate peace, or partial peace, held elections, and maintained the sovereignty of a very large, resource-rich, but deeply divided country. Critics say that under his watch, corruption deepened, elections were manipulated, abuses were ignored, and that he never really broke the networks of patronage and power established during his father's time and before. Where he stands now and what's at stake. As of now, he is outside Congo, often reported to be in South Africa. The sentence raises many immediate questions. How will it be enforced if he remains out of the country? What will this mean for Congolese politics, for his allies, for the rebel groups, and for the regions that are under M23 control? It also poses ethical and legal questions, trials in absentia, fairness, separation of powers, and how politics and justice interact in a country still healing from war. The honest take. Joseph Kabila's story is not simply that of a villain or a hero, it is a story of a young man thrust into power, of long-term incumbency, of both peace and war, of progress and human suffering. The death sentence, rightly or wrongly, marks a decisive moment, not only for him, but for the DR Congo itself. It forces the country, and the world watching, to ask, what does justice look like when systems are imperfect? Can a leader be held accountable without bias? And perhaps most importantly, what is the legacy of someone who built his rule in both light and darkness? Let us know in the comment below.